Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
Good morning and welcome into another edition of the JP Peterson Show on this Tuesday for you. Welcome on in. Brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com, and Bay Area Modern Medical Center. We got lots to get to today. The Bolts are finally back in action tonight at Amalie Arena. We haven't seen them in quite some time, so they're back at home where they have been very, very good against the worst team in hockey, the Anaheim not-so-mighty Ducks. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Some Bucs news to get to as well, with the quarterback market getting a little bit more interesting. Who are the Bucs settling on? We will get to that as well. The Rays' first full squad workout yesterday at Disney, but there is one lingering question that nobody is talking about. Nobody wants to talk about. Nobody wants to even ask questions about. But Kevin Cash kind of in his opening address kind of threw a little nugget out there. So I think it's definitely something to work on. So we'll talk about that and all those things. We got a lot of great stories for you today on a somewhat abbreviated JP Peterson Show. We are going to be out at the Valspar Media Day as you're watching this, as we're taping it the night before, playing the Copperhead, and we'll give you a full report of what's going on out of Copperhead. And Ronnie Barber will be there, so we'll get to chat with him again about the Pro Football Hall of Fame and all the great stuff that the Valspar is going to be putting out. I'll say good morning to you, Nick Geddes. How are you?
I'm doing great here on a, Tuesday morning already. We're already moving quickly this week. It's like you said, a lot more stuff going on around the world of sports, even though we have no football, like we said, and a little bit of a downtime here. But at least we got Lightning hockey back against the worst team in the NHL and the Mighty Ducks.
You know, the Lightning, we'll jump right in. The Lightning are 3 points back of Toronto, who just acquired Ryan O'Reilly and Achari. And the Bolts still have 2 games in hand. So, you know, get the 2 points tonight, pull within 1, and then we've got a little bit of a homestand here. Maybe they can make a little bit of run, solidify themselves in second place because, you know, it's a little early to start talking about seeding and all that stuff. But the bottom line is Toronto is really good at home. The Lightning are really good at home. There's no reason to not, aspire to get to that number 2 spot. And, we'll see how Toronto mixes in. O'Reilly, who's not having such a great year. A lot of people chattering about what the Lightning are going to do to answer these moves. Tarasenko, Horvat, all these guys that are going into the Eastern Conference and bolstering some playoff teams. What are the Lightning going to do? I mean, they don't have a lot of room. There's a lot of names being mentioned. Nick, you read an article where there's some guys that I've never heard of. Maybe you have. Who's coming here? Is it Luke Shen? Is it? I think that's the most likely choice. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Luke Shen seems like a logical thing because, again, with what the Lightning have to work with from a cap standpoint, he's on that 1-year $850K deal, which would fit the cap for the Lightning's sake. The article that you mentioned there that I read was from Frank Saravelli, who he breaks a lot of news and transactions in the hockey world, and he kind of broke down, will the Lightning counter anything that Toronto has done now with Ryan O'Reilly and Noel Achari? Because like we've been saying, you're kind of on a standstill here for the rest of the season because you know that these 2 teams are going to be going head-to-head in round 1. We know that it was a fight last year. I thought it was one of the toughest series the Lightning have honestly had during this run. And now will they counter it? And he mentioned here, like we've kind of been saying, that they're going to be buyers looking for a depth defender, a depth forward. And again, some of these names not flashy, but I'll go through a couple of them here. For depth forward, Tanner, from Nashville, who's 24 goals last year, by the way, in his first full season in the NHL, I believe. So there's some scoring touch there for a guy like that who's really cheap. Some options on the back end, a Jake McCabe with Chicago. We know that the Lightning have a good relationship with making deals with Chicago based on what we saw last year, and, of course, the Tyler Johnson trade as well. Will Borgen, another one in Seattle, who's on just a $900,000 AAV this year from Seattle. He would be a good option back there as a depth defenseman. So it doesn't sound like it's going to be anything major, right? But again, with the cap constraints, there's really not much you can do. Yesterday, I jokingly put it out there like, the hell with it. Just go get Patrick Kane. Just make it work somehow. But we know that the unless Julian Breeze-Ball gets really creative there, that does not look like it's going to happen. So it's probably going to be one of these low moves to kind of get some depth in here. Will it be Cal Foot that goes out?
Probably.
I mentioned that has kind of been showcased here a little bit. Will a team fight on like a 2025 first round pick, which is not as far away as we think anymore? And then, of course, some of the better prospects the Lightning have in their system, which has kind of been depleted in recent years, which is not a bad thing. So I think we would both agree that Breeze-Ball is going to do something. Yeah. What that is, we don't know, obviously, but I think he's going to do something to counter what Toronto did.
Well, and then you got to look at the team and what are the Lightning missing right now? Maybe a little bit of depth on the blue line. I don't know. I think they're pretty solid there. A bottom six scorer probably would be in line. But even that, after the road trip, the bottom six did pretty well, especially in Vegas, scored 3 goals. So, even if the Lightning don't make a major move, continuity is not a bad thing. This group has been together for a long time, and they know how to play in the playoffs. I don't see any team getting markedly better than maybe we'll see what Toronto. They still gotta you gotta get these guys in. You gotta get them into the team framework and see what happens. So sometimes standing pat is not the worst thing in the world, or just adding a little bit of something. I don't think the Lightning need a big move. They still have the best goaltender in the game. Victor Hedman is starting to fill up the score sheet a little bit more. Stamkos has played tremendously well. Kuch is playing well. Cirelli, Point. I mean, they're playing good hockey. I don't think it's time to panic. I don't think it's time to, make some huge move. This is a good hockey team. It's got a great playoff pedigree. If they don't make a major move, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Tonight, how bad are the Mighty Ducks, the not so Mighty Ducks? Their point differential is minus 96, which I think is like 30 or 40 points worse than anybody else in hockey. So, don't go to sleep. They don't lose every game, but man, if the Lightning don't take care of business tonight, I'll be shocked. All right, we're moving on over to the Rays and their first full squad workout. And, I kind of teased this story, and for a couple of reasons. And the story I'm talking about is the team chemistry. All right. And I said this last year, and I'll say it again. The fight between Yandy Diaz and Randy Arozarena, I think, was kind of shoved under the rug. Nobody wanted to talk about it. But you go look from that point to the end of the season, the Rays were in a freaking tailspin. I mean, it's a shock that they even made the play. I think they were like 3 and 12 or something down the stretch. It was terrible. And then, of course, the postseason, 1 run in 24 innings. Yandy was out for 2 weeks, right? With a shoulder contusion or whatever. He wasn't even around the club for like a week and a half following the fight. There were reports that it was really, really physical. Of course, the Rays said, no, none of that happened. But, we didn't see Yandy Diaz for a week and a half. I'm not buying into that. But let's play the sound the Rays have on our website. It starts with Kevin Cash, goes into a couple other guys. I'll identify them for you. But listen to what Cash said. His only remark to the club was like 30 seconds in the orientation meeting. Listen.
Good to see everybody. I think we had a pretty good turnout leading up to it. I know Yandy came in today. He's excited, as he should be, with a little bit more money in his pocket. Very deserving. But no, there was good energy. I think the guys enjoyed seeing one another. Light day for the pitchers, a lot of PFPs, and then tomorrow it'll ramp up with like 3 consecutive days or 4 consecutive days of live BPs. The message was, let's we start working towards something today, and basically let's continue being good teammates, supporting one each other, and just to go out and have a good spring. Very simple. I think there's a better time and place for a little bit more direct message as we narrow numbers and get closer to opening day.
This is Yandy.
I feel very happy, for some personal stuff in the family. I couldn't be here a few days ago, which I would have liked to, but, I'm very happy to be here. No, I feel very happy. I think it's been a pretty good year. We've been wanting a baby for a long time, and that's, a blessing for me, and I'm very happy about the situation. I always say that this is the best team in the MLB, and I'm going to continue saying it, not just today. And I think that as long as we keep on, staying here, I think we're going to have a pretty good season.
Awesome. It's great to be back and see all the guys and just get the opportunity to, catch up
Drew
on
Rasmussen.
how the season went. And then on top of it, we're back to doing what we love. So just having the opportunity to be here and continue to work on our craft and get ready for the year. It's been great so far. We've got a lot of depth, and, what this organization has done over the last, number of years is incredible on the pitching side of things, especially. And so just the talent we have has the opportunity to do some really big things, and we know that, and now it gets down to executing as the year comes, and that's all it really gets down to.
Quiero mejorar, ser un poco más inteligente a la hora de jugar.
This is
I just want to be a little bit more present during the game time. Be a little bit more smarter during the game situations. Obviously, I want to get my numbers better than last year. I've done it 2 years in a row. But just at the start of the game time, I just want to be a little bit more present and a little bit smarter there. More of the decisions I've made. In the last couple of seasons, I've been able to learn from some of the mistakes I've done, and that's something that I want to focus on this season.
Right, that last one was Randy Rosarena. So let's start with Cash. And what he said was want to continue to be good teammates and support each other. Like he didn't say much to the team because, he's going to wait till it gets down to the guys who are actually going to be playing, and he could be more direct. But if that's the opening message, I think, he's addressing it right off the top. Is like, we're not putting up with this BS. You guys got to get along. You can't have these fractures in a clubhouse like this. And it's one of the things that has always been a hallmark of the Rays organization is they have always had great team chemistry. I think it stems from the fact that you have a lot of young guys that are all trying to make their name in the game, right? You don't have a lot of egos, guys that have been established in the league for a long time that are going to do it their way, the Barry Bonds type, get your recliner in the corner, don't talk to anybody, have your own office. There's never been any of that. Guys are pretty much on an equal footing. A lot of them are trying to prove themselves. So they've always gone for those guys that are hungry. So it just lends itself to great chemistry. And I think it's been a real winning edge for this team for a long, long time. Baseball's a long season. And, a lot of these guys, it's hard to get up for 162. But if you're a young guy and you're hungry and you're trying to make your way, every day is a huge day for you. And that's worked for the Rays. Now you're starting to get guys that are a little bit more established. Look, Yandy's got his 3 years, $24 million. Randy's got $4 million now. He got the contract boost with the ARP Super 2 status. So, they're all making some money now. So things it's going to be a little bit more difficult. And I think Cash senses that. And he's going to, lay it down early on. Like we need to be a family here. We need to support one another, be a good teammate. And I think that was directed at those two guys. What do you think, Nick?
Yes and no. I would kind of agree with you. It was kind of interesting last year when that whole thing happened. Like it was like a one-day thing, and then it seemed like it was squashed immediately and nobody talked about it. And whether it's a coincidence or not, like you said, they struggled immediately after that happened. And I believe they were hot before this had happened.
Yep.
So there's definitely some evidence there that would point to, I guess, some friction causing something. So, but at the same time, this is an interesting year because, like you said, a lot of these guys, we're starting to have more continuity with this Rays roster, which we haven't had in a long time, right? And so you're hoping that leads to more success. And the point of, what these guys have been able to accomplish over the last few years. I mean, last year, they had to overcome so much adversity. I know every team has to overcome that at some point during the season, but I don't think another team had to go through as much as the Rays did last year.
A lot of injuries.
With all the injuries that they had, and there were guys that were playing that we had never even heard of, that we were having a baseball reference at times, and they still were able to piece together 85 wins or whatever it was and sneak into the postseason. Regardless of how it ended, that should help them this year. You hope that you get a little bit of health, but yeah, I could see a little bit from that point of view that it could be directed at those two guys. And and I appreciated Randy's comments as well, being really open about, learning from my mistakes, because I thought last year he was a very erratic player, both at the plate, on the base paths, in the field, just very erratic. And I think there's more to Randy's game, and clearly he acknowledges that. So I appreciate the honesty there. But, I think by this time we're so long removed from that incident or whatever happened. I have to think that these guys are on the same page going to this season.
Yeah, I mean, that Cash has addressed it, and hopefully, sometimes those things linger though. But I would hope that that is, that's been talked about. It's been dealt with, and I'll be honest with you. I said it at the end of the season. One of those guys was going to be traded in the offseason, and I'm surprised one of them wasn't. Obviously the Rays are always trying to get it as much as possible, but it's very interesting in the Top Gun article on Arozarena. This was somewhat shocking to me. He's talking about being smarter on the base paths. He was thrown out more than anybody in baseball last year, caught stealing, and made 13 other outs on the bases, third most in the majors. And he's talking about being smarter, not taking as many chances. And I'm sure that rubbed a lot of his teammates the wrong way. That's not team baseball, right? Another thing that the Rays have been part of, being selfish on the base paths, trying to do stupid things. Cash got a little perturbed a couple times last year. So his attitude and his approach to the game has been an issue. And then we hear this from Chad Mottola. This is from the Top Gun article. He said, last week he asked the staff to gather, Arozarena did, and present him some detailed data on how pitchers have tried to attack him in specific situations and what he has done. Quote from Mottola, he's much more interested in how the league is pitching him at different counts, bases empty, people on. Mottola said he's trying to dive deeper into the overall approach of the game that will get him more consistent. So evidently, Arozarena was just not really taking advantage of the Rays' great scouting reports, wasn't studying as much as he should. And some guys are like that. They don't want to know all the numbers. They just want to react to the ball. But when you're as inconsistent as he was last year, to your point, Nick, his OPS breakdown by month, 507, 860, 693, 812, 1.023, huge month, and then 685 in September. You got it, that is a freaking roller. That is the Montooth right there. That is a freaking roller coaster. And it's hard when you're, overall, he's 263, 20 homers, 32 steals, 41 doubles. First time any Rays players ever has gone 20, 25 plus, 40 plus. 773 OPS for the whole season. Those are good numbers. Those are really, really good numbers. But you need more consistency if you're going to be the guy, the bell cow in the middle of the lineup. You just can't have months where you just freaking totally disappear. It's gonna crush the offense. But I was a little surprised to hear that it was to that level where he wasn't even really, looking at the scouting report. That's just unprofessional.
Yeah, it is. And it showed in his game last year. And I think that he's had enough time now, like I said, to reflect on that. Because if you look at his numbers last year and you look at the numbers the year prior, they're not that they're identical, but they're not that far from one another. And naturally, you kind of want to see some of that progression. And yeah, that's great that he set a Rays record and everything. But based on the success that we've seen from him in the past, obviously the playoff run in 2020, we know that what the potential can be. I kind of want to see some more growth there. And maybe a lead by example kind of guy. And it doesn't sound like from what we heard that was going on last year. So I think there needs to be personal growth for Randy Arozarena. I think there needs to be growth professionally from Randy Arozarena and on the field as well. Because, if he can be a 30 home run guy, that would be a huge help to the Rays. I think that he has that in him. But if he's not studying and everything and doing the right things, in the modern game, you can't get by trying to do that. Now, again, he had a nice year last year for not doing that, but it makes me want to see what it's going to be like if he actually really sits down and studies it and uses all the numbers that are available. Because if you're not doing it, I can tell you right now, opposing pitchers are. and they know your weaknesses. And Randy Arozarena, he strikes out a ton. I think he struck out well over 300 times in the last 2 years. It's just way too much, especially for a guy that's hitting at the top of the order. So he's definitely one of those guys I need to see more from.
Yeah, with his natural ability, once, the pitcher's got the book on him and where the holes were in his swing, they've taken advantage of it. So he's got to adjust. And I mean, if he can adjust and go into every at-bat knowing exactly what these pitchers want, that's a huge advantage, man. He could have a humongous year if he can translate that information with his natural ability. Wow. I mean, that could be special, really, really special. And Yandy, by the way, it looks like he's going to be strictly first base this year. Apparently, it looks like Paredes and Taylor Walls are going to kind of platoon at this, second base. Or I would say Brandon Lau, obviously second base, but Paredes and Walls at third, Wander at short. Obviously, Walls will get some time to get Wander off his feet. You want to protect those legs a little bit. So that nice trio there on the left side of the infield like that can get some pop and some good defense. Nice combination there. So I guess it's going to be Yandy at first with maybe a Jonathan Aranda from the left side.
Well, it could. You also could throw Paredes in there as well. We got to look at him a little bit last year, and I didn't think he looked comfortable, I guess, at first base. Maybe a little bit more than when they tried to put Harold Ramirez over there. I mean, you know how I feel about this. I think it's ridiculous that there's not an actual first baseman on this roster, and we're going platoon at that position, which is a premium position in Major League Baseball. But as we've said multiple times, it costs money to get a first baseman in the building.
Boy, Nate Lowe would look really good over there.
Yeah, I think – the Rays don't win every trade. They don't win every trade, but they win most of them. But that's definitely one of them that has kind of let them down a little bit in recent years. But whoever it's going to be, it sounds like it probably, to me, I'd lean a Paredes, Aranda platoon. I think that's what it's going to be, because I think Aranda's probably fighting with Brujan for that final roster spot. And I think you probably go Aranda in that situation.
All right, cool. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we're going to talk some Bucs football. They had a big event last night at the One Buccaneer Place, Advent Health Training Center, whatever you want to call it. And Dave Canales, great article by Rick Stroud in the Times on him. He's a very interesting cat, the new offensive coordinator. We'll talk about that. In the NFL news, Derek Carr making some visits. Where's he going to go? I really think he's ended up in the NFC South, and it ain't going to be Tampa Bay. So we'll do all that when we come back. This is JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, BAMMC.com, Bay Area Modern Medical Center, Italiano Insurance, the Gold and Diamond Source, Emerging Investigations, and American Mortgage Services, plus the Valspar Championship coming up the 13th through the 19th March. Get your premium tickets now. Snake Pit tickets, Hooters Owl's Nest going to sell out. The new Rooftop Lounge on 18 is going to be a hot seller, so get those tickets. Go to ValsparChampionship.com. Back in 3. Stay with us.
Here for the Jeeves Law Group. I've known Scott Jeeves for quite some time, and he's just like us, a huge college football fan. He loves his Gators. In fact, he sponsors our Gator Report every Thursday at 11 o'clock with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. But he's not just another PI attorney. He is a ferocious advocate for his clients. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in Tampa Bay for over 30 years. He is an AV preeminent rated civil trial lawyer and certified circuit court mediator. Folks, these designations are not just given out. They're given only to the best trial attorneys. But more than anything, Scott takes these cases personally. I've heard it from his clients. He's a fighter you want on your side. Insurance companies hate it when they see you're represented by Jeeves. He's just different. 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com and tell him JP sent you.
Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or ItalianoInsurance.com.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show on this Tuesday as we run through some NFL and Bucs news brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group and Bay Area Modern Medical Center. By the way, Chris Lugo will join us tomorrow to talk about the new body sculpting machine that he has. Going to get Nick all toned, lose the weight, don't even have to go to the gym. You're going to be the first patient in there, I bet.
I probably will be because the gym, I don't know the gym. The gym doesn't know me. I don't want to know the gym. It doesn't want to know me back. But I can tell you I'm carrying a few more pounds than I'm used to right now. So I'm all for it. I'm all for hearing what Chris has got to say.
Yeah, I had a great workout. Oh, tremendous workout tonight. Fantastic. For an old guy, it feels good to get in there and get after it. I can tell you that right now. All right, so the Bucs had a big event Monday night. This is the biggest girls flag football tournament in the world. We're told 50 teams from around the state of Florida. It was a big deal last night. The girls came in, got tours of Advent Health Training Center. Darcy Glazer Kasowitz was there. It's just kind of been one of her big initiatives to get the girls out there playing, and it's a tremendous event. They get to play in the indoor facility, the outdoor facility. What a tremendous opportunity for the local teams and all the girls to come and get some great coaching. They had some of the Bucs coaches out there doing stuff. Bucs players were out. Tristan Wirfs was out there, right? Dan Lucas had a chance to talk to him about new offensive coordinator Dave Canales. You tell us anything about that, Nick? I know you saw that story.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually play it here on the stream real quick so we can hear it from Tristan himself. So
all right, cool.
Yeah, so here was a very brief encounter here with Tristan Wirfs.
I went up to Coach Bowles' office to ask where he was at, and he said he was in an interview, like a Zoom interview, and he's like, just go knock on the door. So I went and interrupted his interview. That was my first time meeting him. I assume it'll be like meeting a new offense or, something similar to that. I don't know. This is my first time going through it, so we'll see. But I'm excited regardless. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be good. I went up to Coach.
Well, yeah, he's got to be thrilled because offensive linemen want to run the football. They want to run the football. That's all there is to it. And when they're pass blocking all the freaking time, it's tough. It makes it so much harder for them. It's great when your quarterback gets it out in 2.1 seconds, but when these guys are teeing off and they don't have to play the run at all, it's tough on an offensive lineman. So I think the O-line will look better. They'll play better, and have a quarterback back there that can move will certainly help as well, which brings us to the quarterback. Who's it going to be? I think all sources, all signs are pointing towards Kyle Trask being the guy, or certainly getting a shot at it. And I think the Bucs are going to bring in a veteran, probably not Derek Carr, who's visited with the Jets this weekend. Is going to visit with the Panthers, has already visited with the Saints. The Saints very much in this. His wife was there for a couple of days in New Orleans, which I would think would take him out of the running. But anyway, it's going to be interesting. What are you seeing on the wires, Nick, as far as some of the names that are out there? I guess the name that everybody's talking about is Drew Lock, who Dave Canales worked with in Seattle.
Yeah, it seems like it's looking more possible that Drew Lock is going to be the Seattle quarterback going here. It doesn't look like it's going to be Geno Smith at all. And we kind of said that on yesterday's show that definitely he's priced himself out of the Bucs as well. And I think it's just too much of a risk for a guy who just automatically exploded in his age 32 season. And to the point that we were talking about before the show, he was 3-6 in his final 9 games. He kind of tailed off a little bit there.
Yes.
So a little bit too much risk there. Obviously, there's a lot of risk with the Drew Lock as well. And if it comes down to like a Drew Lock or Kyle Trask, I mean, that would be the best. If you're Kyle Trask, that would be your best case scenario, because I think that's a guy that you can definitely kind of compete with and maybe get the starting job from. So I'm definitely think that that's kind of again, it's looking more and more like we've been saying, a rebuilding year. I think that is 100% confirmed at this point, given the what the Bucs are working with. And I tell you what else is interesting, because they want to run the football, and I didn't realize this, is that Rashad Penny is a free agent actually from Seattle, and and I know the Bucs, they definitely need another running back on the roster.
Yeah, because they're going to cut Fournette.
You like Keyshawn Vaughn a little bit more than I do, but I don't think the Bucs would prefer to have him as that second back. So Rashad Penny, 27, a lot of injuries. He'll probably be a little bit cheap. He's had a lot of success in there.
When he's healthy, he can go, man. He can really go when he's healthy. I would, that's a very intriguing name. I like that, because I think you need a veteran, maybe a veteran who needs to prove something, who's shown flashes in this league. I mean, he's been really good when he's been healthy. So and he would obviously know the Canales system. And this is something we don't know yet, right? Is Canales bringing his system, or are they going to still run this BA? I guess the Brady hybrid is out the window. So I'm guessing that Canales is bringing the Seattle system with him, right?
100%. Again, if you're Todd Bowles, I think that you're trying to get some new, fresh ideas in the building. It's clear that the BA system is stale for this organization right now, and that's going bye-bye. So I think Canales, whatever ideas he has, whatever he's learned from being around some really good offensive coordinators there in Seattle, I hope that he's going to bring that with him. So, yeah, I think the BA system is in the past.
All right, so if it's Trask and Drew Lock just does nothing for me.
It doesn't move the needle for me. I don't think it moves the needle for anybody.
And we're 2 weeks into the offseason basically, and I'm just you know where I'm going with this. Hendon freaking Hooker. I love this guy. The thing that sucks right now is he is moving up draft boards even ahead of Will Levis. So I've seen a couple of mock drafts that have him going as the third overall quarterback, which may leave Will Levis for the Buccaneers. And I really haven't done a deep dive on him, but I've been watching some Hendon Hooker tape, and I tell you what, this kid can flat out sling it. And I know he's 25 years old. He's knocking the interviews out of the park. Everybody loves him on the whiteboard. I think when draft day comes, my worst fear is that he's going to be taken before the Bucs get to him. If he's there at 19, I know this team has a lot of needs, but you know what their biggest need is? Quarterback. I mean, it's not figured out by any stretch. If you can get a guy that has put up those kind of numbers in the SEC and just watching him play, if he's there at 19, if I'm the Buccaneers, I am snatching him up. And then let's say they do get Hendon Hooker, all right, which is I think it depends on how this process goes, and I think he's going to show very well in the process and move up. But if he's there, you bring him in, you get it. He doesn't have to start right away, right? You have a veteran, the guy. If it is Drew Lock, okay, whatever. If it's Jacoby Brissett, that's your guy. He'd be a great guy to mentor two young quarterbacks, right? And be able to start, and then you can bring Hooker along with his ACL. He should be ready to go by training camp. That's what he's saying. But then you don't have to push him, right?
Yeah.
Just let him just get his feet wet in the NFL and see how the season goes, see how the quarterback competition flakes out. But you got Trask, Hooker, and say a Jacoby Brissett. I like that room.
Yeah, I'm not sure if. Yeah, I could see that though. But the thing is, Todd Bowles needs to win games. Jason Licht needs to win games. We'll see what happens with Derek Carr, but at the moment, the division's very winnable, like we've been saying. And I just kind of feel like if you go into the season with the quarterback duo of Drew Lock and Kyle Trask, you're almost like admitting that, we're not really competing this year.
Right.
And I think, to me, that's got to be a tough pill to swallow for a Todd Bowles. Because it would
and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin.
Exactly. For all the veterans that are here who feel like that they still have a chance to compete, right? Regardless if anybody else thinks that. They think that. And they've been through all the lean years, and to now, after all the success, to say, all right, it was fun when you got to have Tom Brady throwing you the football, but now guess what? Here's Kyle Trask and here's Drew Lock.
Right.
Let's go make it work. I don't know if that's going to get anybody excited on that
No.
team, man.
No.
I don't see it. I mean, Drew Lock has had opportunities in Denver. He had every opportunity to win the starting job in Seattle. He couldn't beat out Geno Smith. That's the only thing to me, like if the Bucs would really actually pull the trigger on that kind of move, because I just can't. To me, if you get like a Jacoby Brissett, I think that at least gives you a puncher's chance to at least kind of win the division.
And we're saying Jameis is definitely out, right?
We're not doing Jameis. We're not doing Jameis 2.0. We're taking care of the football. We're moving onward and upwards. Okay. And by the way, I don't even know if Jameis health-wise also. I'm not. That seems to me like he's got some issues going on there.
What are you hearing on Derek Carr? I think you had a couple articles that you read on him.
David Carr, his brother, was on NFL Network today, and he said that this process is going to be a long one, and Derek's going to take his time and try to get as many suitors as he can to see his options, which to me makes sense because that only drives his price up, which to me only reaffirms that the Bucs are no way on the Derek Carr sweepstakes because that price is going to keep going up.
Yeah.
He just visited the Jets, and David said that he had a really good time there getting to know Robert Saleh, and it seemed like everything went well there. So it kind of, and he's like the first domino that we're kind of waiting to drop outside of Aaron Rodgers, who I believe comes back from his retreat tomorrow, or he might be back today already. So we'll see what happens with him. But that's kind of the latest on Derek Carr via his brother, which I probably would say is a pretty good source on this information.
Devin White. We talk about, in this rebuild, getting some resources. He's at the point now where he's, you got to either extend him or trade him, right? In his extension, you're looking at what, $12 to $15 million a year?
He probably wants more than that. I think I wouldn't go that far, but the name that everybody's trying to compare him to is Roquan Smith, who I think is a much better player.
Much better player.
Like $20 million annually from Baltimore. I would not go near that number. So, yeah.
I think of all the tradable, people are talking about Mike Evans. Mike Evans is not going to be traded. It's just it's a salary cap disaster. You're adding to your cap problems if you trade him. He's much better. He's much better to have on your team playing for you than the resources that you could get back for him. Devin White, I think, is a different situation. If you can get, I don't think you can get you think you can get a first for Devin?
A first for Devin White? Oh, for an off-ball linebacker, a first-round pick. That's tough.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, with Devin White, I think that clearly the players seem to rate him much higher than I think a lot of people that break down the game do.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, the question is, do general managers rate him highly as well? Because, again, we watch every broadcast, and what's everybody always talking about? The Bucs have the best linebacker duo in the league. This Devin White is so fantastic, and we watch all the games closely, and we're like, no, he's not close to one of the best linebackers in the league. Now, I do think after the whole loafing incident, I guess, against Baltimore, I think it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think I was that disappointed with Devin White's play after that. There wasn't as many egregious mistakes, but at the same time, he still wasn't making as many plays.
Mm-hmm.
So a first-round pick, I just find it hard to believe there's going to be a team that's going to bite on that. And, I mean, what do you pay him, though? I just don't know. He's a tough one for me. I mean, 12 to 15 million, I guess, but at the same time, I still would feel like he's a little overpaid.
I think at his position, if you have to think about giving him a contract, you don't do it. You don't do it. Not where the money, Roquan's kind of set the market now for that. And you're right. There's no way you pay him $20 million. He's just not that good a player. And my other concern about Devin is, when he came into the league, what was his big issue? Can't get off blocks, right? He runs around blocks, and he has the speed and the ability to do that most times. But teams have figured it out. Like if you can get a tackle or a guard up to that second level and get your hands on him, he's out of the play. He's out of the play. He just cannot get off blocks. And he's never really improved that skill, right? That's something that, you want to see for an elite linebacker, if you're going to pay him elite money, you got to have that skill, man. You got to have that skill. And he's not great in coverage, right? And too many times, how many times have we seen teams game plan, especially in the red zone, and suck him up, throw it right over the top to his man? He gets suckered in more than any linebacker I've seen on a lot of those plays. He's too aggressive. He doesn't play smart enough. And, he makes splash plays. He's incredibly fast. He's one of the best blitzers in the game. He makes big plays, which is what you need from defenders. So you love that part of his game. And he's a great dude. You love Devin. And, a little bit of an attitude this year with that whole loafing thing. I wasn't thrilled with the way that whole thing went down. And so if I can get a second and third for Devin White,
I consider it. I would consider it. I just think too, to me, he's been grouped in with the players that are kind of next up to get those extensions, and they've grouped them with Tristan Wirfs and Antoine Winfield.
Oh no.
There's just no way I'm taking money away from those guys to give it to Devin White.
Yeah.
I'm just not doing it. And I'll even go a step further here. In my opinion, and this is a decision the Bucs are going to have to make this season. I don't even know if they can make it work. I would rather hold on to a Jamel Dean because he plays a more premium position. He plays a more premium position, and I would rather have the two secondary members in Winfield and Dean locked up, and you already have Carlton locked up. I'd rather keep that continuity together because I think it's a little bit easier to go out and find a linebacker than it is to find a really good cover corner. Now, the 100%. Flip side of that, though, is we've seen this. Every good defense, great defense needs a commanding presence in the middle. And if you take Devin White out, there's a reason why Devin White never got benched because the Bucs have zero depth there. So you're kind of starting over there for a little bit.
If you can get a second and a third, you take that second round pick and you take the best inside linebacker there is. You can find really good inside linebackers in the second and third round. So it's almost like you're getting a free third round pick, right?
Unless, like you said, unless you're like Roquan Smith, unless you're Levante David in your prime or Luke, I'm just not paying. In general, I don't want to pay that position that much money.
Right.
I really don't.
That's where you go get a good young linebacker who can come in there and play. And that's one of the reasons I try to bring back Levante David. My dream scenario here is you get a second and a third for Devin. Don't have to pay him, right? You can use that money for Jamel Dean. Although, do you want to invest a year invested in Carlton Davis, and then Jamel's going to get what? At least that? Maybe a little bit less. I don't know. But probably
Jamel was so good this year. Yeah, he's gonna get a lot of offers. And the Bucs they benched him in the playoffs. So
I know. I don't get that. I don't understand that. Maybe that was a money move. I don't know. But maybe that was to decrease his value and maybe try to keep him here. I don't know. I didn't get it. I didn't get it, especially with Sean Murphy Bunting toasted like Wonder Bread. Let's go. But you're going to sink $34 million a year into two guys who don't get interceptions.
Yeah, that's tough. And Todd Bowles wants to take the ball away on defense, and that's the one knock on those guys' games.
I've seen enough from these guys to know they don't have ball skills. You can get away with one. You're already paying Carlton. He's got to freaking catch the damn ball. He's in good position. He can play good man-to-man defense. He's a valuable player, good culture guy, great attitude. But I don't think you can have two corners that can't catch.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's why they they drafted Zion McCollum because he took the ball away a lot in college, and clearly he just wasn't ready. So I don't know if you want to bake on
his head spinning.
Yeah, his head was spinning. You could always draft somebody that has really good ball skills a little bit higher in the draft. It's a little bit more of a sure thing. I guess you could do that as well. But in general, though, I just think that if you were comparing those two players, though, who would I rather pay? I still would say Jamel Dean over Devin White.
Yeah. And I definitely try to go in free agency. I'm not, obviously you can't be in the top tier for corners, but I try to find me a guy that's mid-level guy that's been really good and has ball skills, got some ball skills. We need that so bad on that side. All right. Anything else Bucs wise that we're going to talk about Dave Canales. A great article by Rick Stroud. I mean, his journey to this job. I mean, it's kind of interesting. He has called plays before, by the way. When he was 12 years old on the sand line, he used to get the guys together. Remember how you get the guys together, go out and play football?
Oh, yeah.
In my age group, we used to do it all the time. But he would like to have a clipboard and be like drawing up plays in the dirt and on the clipboard in the sand game. I mean, that's taking it to a whole nother level. And his dad would buy him books on quarterbacking and offensive schemes, and comes from a very religious family. His grandparents started a church in Carson, California. His dad is a pastor as well. His brother played professional baseball, played for the Gators for a couple of years, and then decided to go into the ministry, which is kind of the business, so to speak, or the family passion. And he's just a really interesting cat. Wrote a book about Christian relationships called This Marriage ? Which Tony Dungy wrote the forward to. So real interesting guy. The thing about him, though, is, he's been on that staff for 14 years. He's been the quarterback's coach. He's been the receivers coach. But Pete Carroll never thought he was ready to be an offensive coordinator. So that gives you a little bit of a pullback. But from in terms of energy and what this guy brings to it, and being a solid guy, a great culture guy, evidently we couldn't have a better choice than this guy. So I'm looking forward to meeting him. It's going to be a work in progress, calling plays, but this guy's been successful at everything he's done.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for him. It's not ideal. You'd obviously want to have somebody that has experience doing it, but I'm rooting for him. He's got to develop a young quarterback in a new offense. It's going to be a challenge early on. There's no doubt there's going to be some issues with the offense early on, but it's going to be a work in progress. And there's some good pieces on this team offensively. So we'll see how it works out. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and get into some of the other stories of the day. Some interesting NBA stuff we got to get to. I finally got to see some of the Mac McClung dunks. Oh my God, that guy's unbelievable. Also, Robbie Anderson of the Cardinals has a new first name he's given himself. And a couple other notes on transgender athletes. Marcellus Wiley went off on that. Very interesting stuff. So we'll do that when we come back. Stay with us.
Here for Italiano Insurance. If you've started a side hustle during COVID and the business has grown, well, you need business insurance, because if you get sued, you could lose all your personal wealth if you're not properly protected. That's right. Your home, your savings, everything could go. So get protected now. Call the great agents at Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799, and a real human will answer the phone and get you protected. If you haven't shopped your business insurance in a while, you could be overpaying by thousands. One customer had their golf buddy handling his business insurance, then called Italiano to shop it around, and they saved him $26,000 a year. Yeah. So call 813-877-7799 or go to ItalianoInsurance.com. Italiano Insurance, protecting all the pieces of your life for over 60 years.
The boys are back. The PGA Tour's Valspar Championship returns March 16th to the 19th with 4 days of incredible golf plus a host of activities that make it Tampa Bay's hottest spring sports ticket. There is more to the Valspar than just great golf. It's the Hooters Owl's Nest, the Snake Pit Club, accessible by premium tickets, and other great venues throughout the course for those with ground tickets. And new in 2023 is the Rooftop, a new prestigious venue at the 18th green with music, food, and fun. Plus, you never know who you're going to see at the Rooftop. Tickets are on sale now at ValsparChampionship.com for all tournament days, both grounds tickets and premium ticket options. You don't want to miss the 2023 Valspar Championship.
Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Hey, folks, it's still engagement season, and where better to get that special ring than the Gold and Diamond Source? The Gold and Diamond Source has the largest selection of engagement rings in the country, a literal jewelry super center with 30 times the inventory of any normal jeweler. You don't have to wait to spend any extra time waiting for them to bring something in. They have everything right there in-house, so why go anywhere else? And you can get up to 15% off this January if you buy something with the birthstone, which is garnet. Garnet and gold, Florida State, get something for your favorite Seminole. And let's not forget the Emily collection from Emily Johnson Weintraub. Very affordable, real gold and diamond jewelry, always stylish and unique. Emily has created this fashion-forward gold, diamond, and gemstone jewelry line ideal for everyday wear. Each piece is designed to enhance your look by featuring eye-catching, modern, geometrical shapes. Really unique stuff. Got to check it out. And, of course, Julie and Steve Weintraub, great benefactors here in the local community. So let's keep it local. And you can get 0% financing for up to 5 years. Get a big ring for a little price. It's the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Omerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Let's rock. This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group. If you've been involved in a car accident and your car was totaled, you didn't get what you think you deserve, call the Jeeves Law Group. That's something they specialize in. Free call, see if you got a case, and they will take care of you. Very aggressive law firm of Jeeves Law Group. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com. All right, so first things first, shout out to Mike Kelly, who was the crew chief for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. We mentioned this a little bit on Monday's show, but didn't get into it. Mike Kelly grew up in Pinellas County at all East Bay Raceway and all the little tracks like that, and forging his way up through the business. And it's interesting reading the article yesterday. He has struggled as a crew chief. I mean, bad. But he stuck with it, stuck with Ricky Stenhouse. This group that just won the Daytona 500 is, it's not necessarily the miracle on asphalt, but it's pretty damn close. I mean, Brad Doherty, a one-car team, Ricky Stenhouse has kind of been put out the pasture, a crew chief that has been fired many, many times, but they all, a bunch of misfits that brought it all together and won the dadgum Daytona 500. It's a pretty damn incredible story. The more I read about it, the more I love it. And congrats to them. Congrats to their team. And one of the best parts about it is Brad Doherty, his small budget one-car team. Now Michael Jordan, of course, is in NASCAR with who's he paired with? 2311
with Bubba Wallace. Yeah.
Yeah. All the money they got and all the corporate support. Doherty's now he's throwing shade at Michael Jordan. So we need to get those two together in the NASCAR garage to talk some shit. That'll definitely be fun. But big shout out to Michael Kelly, Pinellas County, getting it done at the Daytona 500. You did a story for Outsider.com on Marcellus Wiley talking about transgender athletes. What did he have to say?
Yeah, he put up a video the other day, and I have the quote right here in front of me. He said, "I have no issues with transgenders. I do have an issue with athletes who are transgender trying to participate, going from a transition of a man to a woman and now playing with the woman. And I will say that you can all try to Dave Chappelle me all you want. I'm very clear on this. You can be transgender, you could be the homie, but I'll be damned if a male at birth turns into a female and tries to compete against my daughters. She ain't out there, we out. Don't make this a human rights issue. This is a biological issue. Simple as that. Trust me, I am a man.
You know what? I love it, and I respect him saying it. And I 1000% concur with the whole thing. You know, and listen. I've worked with transgender people. I know some transgender people. I understand the issues that they deal with, and I've had conversations with a transgender person about this in athletics. And surprisingly to me, they agreed that, and this particular transgender person that I spoke with said, I feel like people automatically feel like if they bring this issue up to me with athletes, that I'm going to, be on the side of the transgender athletes that want to infiltrate women's sports. I'm not. I don't think that's right. It's clearly an advantage in a lot of different cases. It's going to be more and more prevalent moving forward, and I don't think it advances. This is this person talking that the transgender agenda by being the Leah Thomases of the world and some of these others that are clearly at a huge advantage. And I thought that was very interesting. I thought it was very interesting because I think a lot of people just automatically think that that's how all transgender people think, and that's not the case. I think they're fair-minded like anybody else. And when you see Leah Thomas in those situations with those, and what really irks me is the way that the NCAA went out of their way. I mean, putting her up for a female athlete of the year, Leah Thomas. I mean, I think that's so disrespectful to the women athletes, to the tens of thousands of women athletes that you have in the NCAA, and we female athletes in NCAA, some of her teammates, others who competed against her were just livid about that. And I think it's, and I think he's right. I have a daughter that played, high school basketball. Okay. I do not want a biological male in sharing the same dressing room as my daughter. I'm sorry. I mean, what about the rights of the other players, the other individuals? What about their rights, their feelings, their feeling of being uncomfortable? I'm proud that he spoke out about it. He's going to take a lot of crap for it. He's going to get Dave Chappelle, but we need more people. I think those strong voices speaking up into what I think is right. I think he's absolutely 100% right. So good for him. Robbie Anderson of the Cardinals has he's taken on a new first name, Chosen. Can you give yourself, you can't nickname yourself, first of all, but you shouldn't change your name to something like that. Bro, what are you doing? I mean, you fit in well in Arizona with Kyler, though. So good luck to both of you. Good luck to both of you. All right, any other stories that we missed?
Just the NBA stuff. You wanted to say something about Mac McClung, I believe.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you said you wanted to say something about Mac McClung.
Dude, I mean, I saw his Instagram stuff, but that slam dunk contest, my man, that 360 dunk where he comes around to the front, it just like he levitates, like he stays in the air for that split second.
Yeah.
It's Jordan-esque, dare I say.
Oof. Wasn't going for the Jordan comparison, but okay.
Just in the dunking, of course.
Well, yeah. He's your new face of the dunk contest, so he's got a
play in the NBA.
Huh?
He doesn't even the NBA. What are we doing? You have a non-NBA player winning the dunk contest, and then Anthony Edwards basically calling out all players.
Yeah, very. And I loved it. I even put it on Twitter. Like, thank goodness somebody actually said it. And because he was asked about, what would you change about the NBA? And he said, I think all the players who are sitting all the time and resting, I just don't get it. I'm kind of paraphrasing. And he said that what people don't understand is like you have people that are coming to the games and they may only have enough money to come to that game to see you, and you're kind of letting them down, and people don't look at it from that perspective. So I think he's spot on with this whole thing. I know Silver was asked about this a lot during All-Star Weekend, and he kind of, rejected this whole load management thing, that this is a big issue in the game and all this kind of stuff. But trust me, it is. It is, and it's in general this weekend with the All-Star game, and you see the effort. I mean, Mike Malone coached in the game, and he goes after the game and says, "I'm so proud I was a part of the worst basketball game of all time." And Jaylen Brown's calling it a glorified layup line. I guess him and Embiid were trying to get everybody going to make it a little bit more competitive, and nobody was trying. But I mean, Giannis did get I guess he injured his hand more. LeBron got hurt, so I'm sure people saw that and were like, "Yeah, we're done." I'm sure that played a part in it as well. But in general, I think the NBA, the load management thing, I think is a huge problem. I think it always will be.
Nick, I think it's tremendously disrespectful to the fans. I think the NBA, more than any other group, they have shown a disrespect for the fans. The load management is just the tip of the iceberg. A lot of the other, political comments and political stances that the NBA has taken over the past few years that I think have come back to blow up in their face. More disrespect and I don't think they care about the fans, and they don't show that they care about the fans. And that All-Star game was a perfect example of it. And they know where the most of their money is coming from. Most of it's coming from China. And I'm telling you, the ratings have been awful. Attendance is not great. The NBA is I think in a death slide, and it has a lot to do with the fact of their complete disrespect for their fans. And I don't see how you go out there. The All-Star game doesn't really bother me, but it's just like a few years ago during COVID, when Steph Curry the Warriors came to Tampa. He goes out and one of the few games the place was packed. He goes out and warms up, and he's fine. He's doing, and he doesn't play 1 minute at the game. 1 minute, see him. You can go out there and play like 5 minutes of the first quarter. It's so disrespectful to the fans, and that he was like, "This Tampa, I'm not playing here tonight." Against the Raptors, who are having
Yeah, and there are some situations like if LeBron's 38 years old, okay? If LeBron wants to take some nights off,
I get it.
I got no problem with it. If Kevin Durant wanted to do the guys who are older, Chris Pauls of the world, I have zero problem with that. But if you're in the prime of your career and we're sitting guys and we're worried about back-to-backs, it's like there needs to be some, especially if it's a game on national TV. That's what gets me fired up and everybody else is there's a great national TV game on, and then you go to tune in and nobody's playing. Nobody's playing.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. NBA's got some major issues. All right, coming up tomorrow, we will be back in studio, God willing. Scott Reynolds is going to join us from the Pewter Report, so we'll get his thoughts on the offseason, the combine coming up, the draft. Those guys are on it all the time with that, so we will have him and may have some other special guests as well. So go Bolts tonight. I will see you at Amalie Arena as the Not So Mighty Ducks will be in town, and hopefully the Bolts will grab their 2 points. And we'll see you tomorrow.